All right, and here we are on a Wednesday live from Las Vegas. It is Eddie Trunk, and this is Trunk Nation, where we talk rock every single day, live 2 to 4 Eastern. Nightly re-airs 10 to midnight Eastern, anything you want, anytime you want on the SiriusXm app. And sitting with me right at the top of the show, as punctual as it gets, the man that absolutely knows about this show because he is probably our most loyal listener. And a recent Vegas transplant. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Sebastian Bach is here.
Hello, Eddie. Nice digs.
You like it?
I love your crib. I thought you were going to have my your Kiss Originals 8-track right at the door to blow my mind.
I have, it's in my house in Jersey. I have one thing that Sebastian covets.
Yes.
His insane collection of stuff he has.
Yes.
But I have one thing he does not that he wants badly. And I have a sealed 8-track of Kiss the Originals, which when you were texting me stuff like, I got the white label this, the promo this, and I go, look what I got. And you're like, whoa, my mind is blown.
Well, you know what? I collect all Kiss stuff, and I even collect Kiss 8-tracks, which I know is ridiculous. I just like the way they look. And I really do.
Brings back memories.
Well, my dad played 8-tracks in my car. That's where I got turned on to, Elton John and all the 70s music. And so I'm used to that. But I do not have the sealed originals. I have one that's not sealed, and I don't think I have all the parts. But just talking to people now, when you try to explain what it was like being a Kiss fan in the 70s, and you talk about like the allure of them not being, you didn't know what they looked like.
Yeah, people don't forget that anonymity thing was a huge deal.
Yeah.
And Big John Hart, their security guy, just passed away. I don't know if you heard that. And he was a big part of all those photos. Remember with the hand
for sure.
holding up because they were anonymous.
Yeah, but another part of it is that they always went the extra mile to the umpteen level as far as packaging. And when you bought a Kiss record, so much stuff would fall out. Yeah. But the point of being is that that's the only 8-track package I can think of where the band included a book.
Right. But it's all folded up
I know,
so
but it's
small.
tiny, but how cool is that?
And it's in there. Mine's still in the cellophane, so I don't even know.
That's the kind of thing that makes it fun to be a Kiss fan.
You don't have an 8-track player, do you?
Yes, I do.
Of course you do.
But I also love CDs too, and I brought a stack of Canadian CDs we can get into in a bit.
So we're going to do this. And first of all, Sebastian is wearing a super cool T-shirt from the ultimate Canadian rock band, of course, Rush. That looks like that's kind of like Farewell to King's Hemispheres era, but it's very cool. But I got to ask you, it only took us 30 seconds to get into Kiss, but a quick thing for you on Kiss. Did you get the Destroyer 45th anniversary yet?
Yes, but it's still sealed, and I haven't opened it. No, I'm actually backlogged on 4 box sets. I've got the Black Sabbath Sabotage. I've got the Rush Permanent Waves.
Yeah.
I'm going to get Moving Pictures.
Yeah.
But Kiss Destroyer. But what I'm really into, as you said, is the 5.1 surround sound mix.
Right.
I want to hear Destroyer in the middle of my surround sound, and I need to block out time. And it's so much fun for me to open that up and listen to that I need to kick everybody out of the house. I can't have any distractions.
So is that why you didn't open it yet?
No, I need to savor it.
It's like a bottle of wine. You're letting it age.
Well, it's like you this weekend. All the fans are going. You couldn't. You had to not.
I did it. I just did that because I wanted to open it on the air. But I was dying to open it over the weekend because I could have spent time listening to it. Now I finally opened it, but I haven't listened to it yet.
Well, I think it's incredible. I have a Steve Wilson 5.1 Rush mix of Farewell to Kings that is nuts.
I have that as well.
And I did open that and I listened to it, and it's an experience hearing something like Destroyer in a new way for the first time. I don't know. I don't want to get too geeky on this because we got so much to cover, but I don't know how they do that from a technical standpoint with a record that's 40, 50 years old. It's 2 channels. It's right and left. Right.
How do you break that down to 6, 7 channels? I'd be curious to talk to someone like Steve Wilson and say, hey, What's the process? What do you do? What's the technology behind that?
Well, he's known as the best guy to do this.
Yeah.
He's like the Robert Ludwig of 5.1.
Yeah.
Although Robert Ludwig would probably say he is.
Exactly right. All right, so listen, Sebastian is here, of course, and he's going to sit in the entire show, and he's gotten here right at the top of the show, which is awesome. Of course, before we do anything, and we'll take some calls as well, 844-686-5863, 844-6-volume as usual. But before we do any of that, as usual, I like to give you some news here right at the top. And with Sebastian, feel free to chime in on any of this, but I'm going to run through it real quickly. Just some stuff that's gone on. First of all, Ronnie Letecro, the guitarist from TNT, who's a super underrated guitar player. Nobody ever really talks about him that much, but that guy was a killer player. He's got a solo record coming out March 18th called Bigfoot TV. He is Norwegian. I heard a couple of the songs they put out. They're pretty freaky, weird-sounding kind of songs, if I'm being honest, but that's coming out for fans of Ronnie, who's a really underrated player. Do you know Howie Pyro?
Not as good as I know Ronnie Letecro.
Oh, you know Ronnie?
Yes. I was a very big fan of the album Knights of the New Thunder.
TNT.
Yes.
Seven
Seas.
Yeah.
Deadly Metal.
What about the video for Seven Seas?
That's a really obscure video. That's like a Nitro video or something. Like, that's hard to see. But I also love their second record, Tell No Tales.
Yeah.
Which had 10,000 Lovers.
Right.
Desperate Night, which I used to torture myself to sing so I could sound like the singer of Skid Row. Tony Harnell.
Well, right. I was going to say the irony of that is Tony Harnell was in Skid Row for 6 months.
So I'm warming up to Tony Harnell, and then I'm sure Tony Harnell had to warm up to me, and then I'm warming up to me.
But Ronnie Letecro is a great player, and he's an influential player, and he's not somebody anybody ever really comes up when we talk about much, so I wanted to give that a mention. Howie Pyro is a bass player, for those that don't know. He's also been a DJ recently. He was a member of one of my favorite bands, D-Generation, from the 90s, and Howie has had to have a liver transplant and is having some serious health issues right now. So I wanted to mention this because they just got a press release on it. March 5th at the Troubadour, which is a week from Saturday. And man, I'd love to go to this. I don't know if I can, but I'd love to. There's a benefit for Howie to help offset the costs of his liver transplant and all the medical stuff that he needs to have done. And there's going to be a bunch of cool acts playing, including a D-Generation reunion. Jesse Malin playing, who, of course, is the singer in D-Generation. Jesse also has a solo career. One of my favorite bands, Rival Sons, are going to be performing. Butch Walker, Jacob Dylan. Great event at the Troubadour in L.A., and that'll be happening to benefit Howie Pyro for his medical costs on March 5th. So if you're in the LA area, go to that show and help out a great cause and see some great musicians as well. Baz, I don't know if you heard about this. Gary Brooker, the guy who sang A Whiter Shade of Pale, Procol Harum, passed away.
Well, I can't keep up with all the misery.
Yeah.
I just say it every day. I mean, first of all, rest in peace, Gary Brooker and Procol Harum fans and his family, obviously. But, you know, we're at the age now where every single day it seems like
something. There's
another sickness or musician that's leaving us, or Big John Hart. Like, I mean, it's almost like social media is birthdays and deaths. Like, happy birthday! Oh, this guy died.
Well, that's what I do every day at the show to start the show. Happy birthday to somebody, or somebody died, and I got that today actually too.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's sadly Gary Brooker, 76, died of cancer. Iconic song from the late 60s, Whiter Shade of Pale, as everybody knows, and of course other stuff he did within the band. But also sadly announced yesterday, Mark Lanigan from the band Screaming Trees.
And he was 57 years old.
57, passed away. I did not know Mark, but my understanding is he had a long history of issues with drugs and alcohol. Was living in Ireland when he passed away, originally from Washington. Really a guy that was a pioneer of the Seattle scene that came Nearly Lost You, great song from the Screaming Trees. It was included in the single soundtrack Cameron Crowe's movie. He had a bunch of solo records that he did. He was briefly in Queens of the Stone Age, his main band, of course, being the Screaming Trees. A very influential guy, especially for that scene. Gone, sadly, at the age of 57. No information on his cause of death, but again, he had well-documented issues with drugs and alcohol throughout his life, which is extremely sad. So way too young to go. Speaking of Canadian rock, Anvil.
Yeah!
New album.
What number is this? 27?
At least. Name of the album is Impact is Imminent.
You know, one of my favorite underrated Anvil songs is a song that they wrote about hockey, and it's called Blood on the Ice. And
Didn't Exodus have a song called that too, I think?
Well, I have a live album by Anvil that came out like in the middle of the 90s, and I used to play it over and over because Lips does this rap. He goes, "Oh, you like hockey? Yeah, you like hockey? Because there's blood on the ice." I used to play like a metal song about hockey. And then, oh, he's skating into the defense zone. Like, I can't really, no. But it's a metal song about hockey, and I always thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, I saw Anvil early in their career, and Lips, I don't know if he still does this, but Lips played slide guitar using a vibrator.
Dildo, yeah.
Yeah, he had a vibrator. He'd come out. It was like the big moment, and he would keep it under an armband on his arm, and then he'd pull it out when he needed it.
And he'd be wearing like a jock strap and fishnet stockings.
Yeah. Totally. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a reissue of the Anvil movie coming soon as well, which of course was a big deal and really set off the whole documentary craze back in the day. But Sasha Gervasi, my buddy who made that movie, told me that they're working on some sort of anniversary reissue. I think it's like 10 years or something like that since that movie first came out. So,
you know, one thing about that movie is that like it was so good that after that, every band tried to make their own Anvil movie, but they just that movie by Sasha Gervasi had such like a tone to it, and even like the music to it was like haunting, like that theme music. I don't know who came up with that, but it just was haunting. It makes you cry every single time you watch it. You know,
the thing that made that film so great was not only how it was shot and the music and all of that, but the fact that the band was willing to be completely transparent about their situation. Like they had no problem showing themselves playing to 3 people in a club that's where they're at. And it made you, endear yourself to them. But the problem with it, that I've said many times, is the reason why I think so many people thought that movie was going to catapult the band and was going to make them a big band. I think the reason why it didn't is because there's a ton of people that love the movie but would never listen to the music.
It's also hard to get their music because I'm managed by Rick Sales, who actually managed or still might manage Anvil. And I remember when the movie came out, I went to a record store in Jersey, and I was like, "Hey man, here's the new Anvil CD." Like they had it, right? No, it was a reissue of Metal on Metal. And I was like, "Rick, why don't you put it out right now, Metal on Metal?" And he goes, "The people that own the rights in Canada don't want to put it out." And like, you can't get Metal on Metal.
Right.
If you want to go get it, good luck.
But my point about the connection is I know a ton of people who aren't metal fans, aren't into that kind of music. They love the movie, they love the characters, but they're not going to see the band play live because it's just not their kind of thing musically.
My wife, Suzanne, because she is not she wasn't allowed. She's from Arkansas, so when she was a kid, her parents didn't let her listen to metal, right? Which made her love metal, but she was not familiar with all this stuff. So one night she's like, "Let's watch a heavy metal movie." And I go, "You want to watch a heavy metal movie?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Okay, let's watch a real metal movie." We're all excited, sitting in this thing. Halfway through, I put on Anvil. Halfway through, she's like crying. She goes, "This isn't a heavy metal movie." I go, "What's wrong?" I go, "This is a heavy metal movie." She goes, "Nothing good is happening to these guys, and they keep trying." And she's like, "Oh, honey, welcome to rock and roll. This is it right here. And she's in tears. But that's
actually, you're right. That's actually, unfortunately, the reality for most bands.
Exactly.
Is what those guys went through and that whole thing.
And there's also such a sense of Canadian humor to that movie. I think of a scene where Lips and Rob are arguing about a take, and Chris Sangrides is there trying to make them get along, and they're both crying. And then Rob Ryder, the drummer, looks at Lips and he's like, "Who's always there for you? Who's your best friend?" And he's got tears and he goes, "Robbo." not Rob, but Robbo. That is so Canadian. Robbo is always there for you. Robbo.
I got to watch it again. It's been
so
too
funny.
Long since I've seen it. I do have to watch it again. But yeah, it's there's probably going to be a reissue of that coming soon as well. But look for Anvil's new record. Again, Impact is imminent, coming in May. I remember going to the premiere for it in L.A. and like Dustin Hoffman was sitting in front of me and like all this stuff. I'm like,
Dustin's a big Anvil fan.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The movie crossed over to people that necessarily wouldn't be into that music, I don't think. All right, so a couple other quick notes here. And speaking of, so we had two unfortunate deaths, Mark Lanigan, Gary Brooker. But like Sebastian just said, followed with a birthday today, a big happy birthday to the man who actually wrote a lot of amazing Aerosmith songs, and maybe people don't even realize this, but definitely, the other guitarist in Aerosmith, but a super important member, and that is the great Brad Whitford, who is celebrating a birthday today. Brad Whitford wrote some of the heaviest Aerosmith songs, Round and Round.
Did he co-write Nobody's Fault?
Last Child, Nobody's Fault.
Those are the heaviest ones.
One of my favorites is on Draw the Line, Kings and Queens.
Oh, come on.
Amazing.
Unbelievable.
Screams of no reply. I'm hearing they're going to...
Kings and queens and guillotines taking lives tonight.
So great. Yeah. I'm hearing they're going to play, come back and start up in Vegas again. I'm hearing maybe like in June.
Vegas is the best.
It's amazing.
I love it.
You like it? How long have you been here? Like 6 months now, right?
Yeah, I've been here since July, and when I got here, it was too hot to go outside. Gene Simmons, that only lasts for like 2 months. The rest of the year, like right today, it's freezing.
That's what
I'm going to Eddie's. It's like 11 in the morning. I'll wear a t-shirt. I'm like freezing out there.
That's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, living in Jersey predominantly, I'm like, I'll take a couple months of intense heat over 3 months of ice and snow any day of the week.
Absolutely.
The other thing that Gene didn't realize before he dropped $20 million on a house or whatever out here was when he said, I'm going to wait to do the KISS residency when things slow down in Vegas. Like, when is anybody not playing in Vegas? This weekend, there's 15 shows. Gene, it's not slowing down.
I have to choose on Friday between Metallica and Cheap Trick. I have tickets to both.
And Cheap Trick's doing their 70s set on Friday.
Guess where I'm going.
Killer. Are you going to go to that?
I'm going to Cheap Trick.
Sorry,
Metallica.
That's a rough one.
I'm going. I have to. I love Robin Zander. I love that music.
So do I. I've just seen him twice, but I'm going to probably go Saturday and go to Metallica Friday.
Well,
And then you got Billy Joel on Saturday. Tomorrow night, you got Wolfgang Van Halen and Dirty Honey at House of Blues. They're coming here tomorrow.
That's cool.
By the way, mention that real quick, too. Tomorrow on the show, sitting in with me is going to be Wolfgang Van Halen and Mark LaBelle, lead singer of Dirty Honey. They're out on tour together on a co-headline, and they're playing here in Vegas tomorrow night. They're coming here to sit in with us before they play, which is also awesome. Mm-hmm. All right, so there we go. And last but not least, and something you are here to promote beyond everything else we'll get into.
Yes.
You are doing a rock and roll fantasy camp here in Vegas.
I know. I'm here to talk about the rock and roll fantasy camp that starts on March 31st in Las Vegas that I'm doing with Rudolf Schenker and Matthias Jobs.
You got the name right?
I did?
Of course. That's how you say it.
Matthias Jobs of Scorpions, and also Vinny Appice or Vinny Appice.
No, he's Appice.
Yeah, that's very confusing to me.
Okay. And there's a third. They have a sister.
What's her name?
Appice.
Swear to God. There's no way.
Ask him.
There's not.
I swear to God.
So three
Carmine Apiece, Vinny Appice, and whatever the sister's name is, she says Apici.
Oh, wow.
They got to figure that out as a family.
Well, that reminds me of a cheap trick. Did you know that Robin Zanders, all of his kids are named Robin?
Yeah.
No, the boys and the girls.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Robin. Like, he's got like 4 kids, I think. They're all named Robin.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the girl's Robin with a Y. Yeah, I swear that's true.
So his youngest son is playing in the band now, as you'll see.
He's amazing.
Yeah, and they just call him RTZ because his middle name is Taylor, so they don't get confused with Dad, RTZ.
That's incredible.
Yeah. All right, so Fantasy Camp, Scorpions.
Yep.
I think Zach is doing it too, right?
Yes, he is. And it's going to be a lot of fun. For those who don't know, Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp is a chance for you to come rock with us, like play in a band. Like, we're going to rehearse for 3 days in a rehearsal studio, jam, get our set together. And then on the last day, which is April 3rd, which just happens to be my birthday, we're all going to have a jam session at Counts Vamped in Las Vegas.
Great spot.
Where me and EDDIE Trunk have got drunk.
And went to see we just went to see Bruce Kulick there, yeah.
And so it just so happens that's the way my life works out. You know, I live very close pretty much to Counts Vamped, like in that area. So on my birthday, my first birthday in Vegas, I'm doing a show in Vegas. So thank you, Vegas, and thank you, David Fishoff, Rock Camp. So get your tickets. If you want to rock with me, Zach Wilde, and members of the Scorpions on my birthday at rockcamp.com.
Yep, March 31st through April 3rd.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
And there's a bunch of other instructors that are going to be there. And John Karabi, I'm just looking at the list. Karabi's there, and my buddy Zach Throne is there. And there's a lot of different counselors. Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake will be there. So yeah, I've done a few rock and roll fantasy camps, just doing some speaking stuff. Now, there's also an instructional aspect to it. Are you going to instruct singers?
Yeah, I'm there all for the full 3 days, and I've done quite a few of these, and it's just really fun. And you know, this is kind of another sign, hopefully, fingers crossed, that it kind of a little bit seems like we're going back to normal.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. I don't want to jinx anything.
Yeah.
But, you know, I love doing the rock fantasy camp. It's fun. Like, you know, I'm a fan of rock, and the people that sign up for that are total fans of rock. And then at the end, the last day, we all do a show together on stage. And
of course, Scorpions are doing right around that time. We'll be starting their run of like 5 weeks here in Vegas, playing shows. You may have heard of the opening act, Sebastian.
Yeah, I heard of them. I used to be a huge fan of that band.
Maybe now will this? I'm assuming Skid Row opening will prevent you from going to see Scorpions, because I imagine you normally would want to go.
Yeah, I would.
Or would you go late, or go stand in the back, or put your hair up, or
no, I'm not putting my hair up.
Stay away. Would you go?
I don't want to. I'm not into it. It's like it's just number one. I can't. I went to Slash the other night. I mean, I can't walk around in public. My hair, nobody has hair like this anymore. And then when I talk, everybody goes, dude, it's your voice. I knew it was you. And so it's
plus
just,
you're 6'5" or whatever.
Right,
you're not low key.
And I've been doing yoga.
You look great, man.
Thank you. Oh, I do it all. I'm obsessed with that.
Well, you were nice enough to take me to dinner when we were here last time, and we were over a nice steak dinner. You were telling me how you got skinny as we're eating steak, but you said you're into hot yoga.
Yeah, and I don't.
Duff got you into it.
Yes, he did. And I eat a steak occasionally, but I mainly do not eat any meat anymore. I like all the vegan burgers, all the vegan choices. I mean, you can go to Kentucky Fried Chicken now and get a bucket of chicken that's not chicken.
I think that was always the case, though.
That's a good one.
But I
totally changed my diet. And to be honest with you, during the pandemic, I didn't care about anything. I was miserable. I mean, I was okay for the first couple months, but going on month 7, month 8, I was going cuckoo. And I didn't care. I would go for a run in the pandemic, and halfway through the run, I go, what the fuck am I doing? Like, like, who cares about this? Like, because I didn't see any end to the tunnel. Like, I mean, rock and roll does keep you young. It keeps me young because
me too.
If I'm thinking about doing a show, I gotta really prepare myself. And then at the end of the pandemic, I did some shows, and I was not myself, and I didn't like the way I looked, and I didn't like the way I felt trying to go on stage. I was, out of breath, blah blah blah, and I just said.
But you're not saying that. Not this recent tour you just did doing Slave, because you killed that.
No, I mean in the summertime.
Oh, okay.
Like I did a couple corporate shows and this and that. And I was like, it's time to fucking flick the switch, And I read Corey Taylor. He's like, I completely changed I changed my whole way of eating. Like, it's a lot of fruit, salmon, granola, yogurt, shit that I'd rather, of course, if you're eating for taste, that's one thing. But I remember Steven Tyler, I used to read interviews, when I was a kid, and they would live on brown rice and.
They think they were just poor.
But brown rice and heroin. That'll make you look great.
Well, that's the other thing too. Tell me how, and I've said this so many times, all these guys that did the most drugs and fucked themselves up the most, and they look the best.
Let's not
look at Slash. Slash looks great. And look at Steven Tyler, looks great. These guys, they're like preserved or something.
Well, and then, look at a guy like Mick Jagger. Like, what does he do? That's another inspiration. There's a bunch of inspirations I had. Number one, I'd say Mick Jagger. Because the guy's like, almost 80.
Yeah.
And he's jumping around, and he looks great, and he's got all this energy.
McCartney.
Yeah,
I saw McCartney here in Vegas a few years ago. He's doing a 3.5-hour set still, and he just announced another tour.
Robin Zander.
Yeah.
Duff McKagan looks incredible.
Glenn Hughes
looks incredible. But, nobody beat the hell out of himself more than Duff. I mean, maybe Glenn did. I remember in Glenn's book, he tells his story. He was so high on blow trying to get home, but he could only make left turns.
Or how about the one?
I go, you got to be really fucking high if you can only make left turns. And he's like, I couldn't make a right turn because I was so fucked up. And I go, how do you get home? Like, what do you live in a circle? Like.
Or the one when he was dating the woman, the girl from The Exorcist, Linda Blair.
Oh yeah.
And he shit himself and didn't know, and he went down to dinner.
That's not romantic. Dude, I know you're a big fan of rock books.
Yeah.
I'm reading the Ted Templeman book right now.
Oh, I've read it a while ago.
It's
great.
So incredible.
Yeah.
And there's so much detail in every record that he puts out.
My buddy Greg Renoff wrote that. It's crazy too. The thing, we're all over the map here, but we're going to take a break and we're going to get into some other stuff, and we'll get calls going and we'll talk Canadian rock and all that. But the last thing on the Van Halen thing, on that book that jumped out to me that I remember is when 1984 was doing it, and they wouldn't let Templeman in, and he had to physically drive there and get into the studio to find out what was going on.
And then he's like, Don Landy comes in with the tapes, and he's like, give me the tapes. He's like, no, I'm going to throw them in the ocean. Throw them in the ocean? What?
Spend 4 years on a record, I'm throwing it in the ocean.
I know.
All right, we got to do a break. When we come, see Sebastian, Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, information at rockcamp.com. We'll hit that a couple other times to remind people as well. And if I'm in town, I'd love to swing by and see everybody. There's a great crew of people there. Zach, Sebastian, Rudolph, Matthias. It's going to be great. Vinny Appice. All right, so we'll come back after the break, and Sebastian has a so Sebastian took issue with some of the things that were omitted by Fitz and Kearns when they were here.
Yes.
In the Canadian rock world. He needs to right that wrong. And we'll also take some of your calls, and we'll get into it next on Trunk Nation.
Yeah!
Live here on a Wednesday from Vegas. Sebastian Bach sitting in for the show, and this is awesome. We're going to get into all kinds of stuff here, but before we do, Sebastian has some shows that you wanted to mention, because first of all, doing Slave, I caught 2 of the shows. I caught the show in LA, and I caught the show hosted the show in Houston. Well, you had me up there on both. This is great. So I go to the show in LA to see Sebastian. He played really cool theater there, and I get a text from you or from Brent or somebody said, you're going to come back and bring up Sebastian. And I said, if he wants me to, sure. And you're like, yeah. So I go back there 5 minutes before you're on. I'm like, you could stay out there for a while. Stay out there. And I'm going, Baz, they're not here to see me. I mean, let me get you on. He goes, no. So I go, what do you want me to do? And you're like, just do your show, man. Do your show. Like, so I'm supposed to do a radio show on the mic for 2 hours before you come out.
I'm just so used to your show. I listen to it every day. And
I got to thank you because a ton of people have called in throughout that whole tour who said that you mentioned me on this show, even all the nights I wasn't there. And I really, it means a lot. And the audience was all calling in going, Sebastian mentioned you last night or mentioned the show.
Let me paint the picture for you. I've always been a fan of radio. Okay. And yes, I'm a vinyl freak and I collect 8-tracks and all this stuff. But as a kid, I had a paper route. And I would get up at 6 in the morning and go get my stack of papers. And I had a radio that I used double stick tape, and I taped it to my handlebars. And I would drive down the street with the sun coming up completely alone, deliver papers, and listen to the radio. And in my town, Peterborough, Ontario, Canada, Christine 16 was a hit song.
Yeah.
Shout It Out Loud was a hit song. Calling Dr. Love was an AM radio hit song.
In New York, too.
With Lost in Love by Air Supply and Lido by Boz Scaggs. That's I was born in 68, so had my paper out. It was like 9 and 10. So I love the radio. I love it. But then corporate radio came, like my favorite show was WKRP. Rest in peace, Dr. Johnny Fever.
Yeah, for sure, Howard Hessman. Yeah.
But that show, like when they changed the format and Andy Travis puts up the poster and Johnny takes the needle and plays air guitar, that's like part of who I am.
Yeah.
But then radio went away. I don't consider what radio is now to be radio in any way, shape, or form as what I listened to when I was a kid.
Oh, I agree.
But your show reinvigorates my faith in radio.
Oh, well, thank you, man.
Because your show speaks to rockers, and you don't play the corporate game, and you stand up for what you like. And that's what rock and roll radio should always be to me. So it's like an oasis of a radio show.
Well, thank you. Yeah. You torture your wife and your bandmates playing it for them. I know, but they probably want to kill you. But thank you. Seriously, it means a lot. But how did you feel doing "Slave" every night like that? And what was the most challenging song from that record to do every night?
Well, I learned that the first Skid Row record had a lot more singing. And the album Slave to the Grind has a lot more screaming, okay? I'm not saying one is better than the other, but when I did the first record, I really concentrated on singing as cleanly as possible. But Slave to the Grind is not that. It's not. It's like Living on a Chain Gang. It's not like Journey. It's just not. So I had to kind of go dirtier, but I found that I could sing a little bit higher if I didn't always want to go as clean as possible. And I'm really specifically talking about the beginnings note of Monkey Business, where I got to go, oh, that note is super hard to hit. And I learned that, dude, you can't always just, I'm going to sing clean and not. For that one, I had to go into fourth gear, and I would watch the videos back, and that's how I hit it.
When you originally recorded that record, and so you're singing a little differently, differently
than the two records, right? A different style of singing.
So did anybody, like, did Michael Wagner, who produced that record, did he coach you in that, or did you just feel that naturally that's what you wanted to do?
Well, that's pretty much my top note of my voice, but it's getting way up there, and the ending of Quicksand Jesus as well. But you're very into the technical side of things, and if you want to know the truth, that scream at the beginning of Monkey Business is 4 of me.
Oh, it's quadrupled?
It is. And
there's nothing wrong with that. It's done all the time.
Lars Ulrich was in the studio behind the board with Michael Wagner when I cut all 4 of those, because we were hanging out all the time, and Lars had like his impress me kind of thing. I was like, get the fuck back from the motherfucking board, man, because here we go, man. And I ripped out that scream, and he's like, I go, how is that? And he just pressed the button. He goes, roaring. I go, what? Roaring. And I go, do it again. And we did it 4 times. And that's what you hear.
All right. So, and last thing on this, because again, I could talk about this stuff forever, but everyone knows how much I love Subhuman Race.
Oh, yeah.
Now, vocally on Subhuman Race, to my ears, you went what you did on Slave and went even to another level. Because that's, I mean, something like Beat Yourself Blind and all of that, that's unbelievable.
I was smoking a lot of pot on that record. No, you know why? Because we did it in Vancouver. And Vancouver, we moved there. We lived there for all the guys in Skid Row for like a month or 2 in an amazing high-class apartment building called the Landis on right downtown Vancouver. We all had suites. But there was like dispensaries there, and I was smoking too much. I don't smoke before I sing, but on that record, that was like in the grunge era. And I didn't think it was cool to sing good. I swear to, in the mid-90s, I didn't try to sing. I didn't push my voice because all I heard was, remember this genre called screamo and grunge? Yeah. And I felt goofy singing like Steve Perry at that time. I felt like, I just didn't feel, I felt like you just had to scream. And it was when I did Broadway, when they said, fuck all that. They go, we want you to sing as best as you can sing. You know, this isn't a grunge band or a screamo band. This is Broadway. When I got on there, that's when I started ignoring what else was going on. And I said, just sing as best you can.
But I've always told you this. One of the things I love about your voice so much is you have those 2 sides.
That's my Halford influence.
So it's going to Subhuman, which I love. If you listen to a song like Eileen,
oh hell yeah,
you're singing this sweet thing, and then it just
the ending is crazy.
It's insane, and it's what it makes me crazy right now thinking about it, because I fucking love that record so much. And then a song like Fire Sign, like you're singing, it's beautiful the way you're singing through the verses, and then it gets heavy. So to me, you took what you were doing on Subhuman and even went to another level of that yin and yang of those sides of your voice on Subhuman. Did Bob Rock have any influence on that?
Well, the reason we chose Bob Rock was because of the record Dr. Feelgood, because that song especially has this production that crushes my brain, just the way that sounds. Yeah. But by the time we got up to be with Bob, he was into Veruca Salt. Like, that's all he talked about. He just did their record, Veruca Salt, Veruca Salt. We're going, what about Dr. Feelgood? Like,
what about the Blackout?
He didn't want to hear about that. He had moved on. So as much as I do love Subhuman Race, when I rehearse for my sets and I put all the albums on, the production on that record is very dated to the mid-90s, like just the production. I'm not saying it's good or bad or different, but to me, the sound of it sounds like that, you know?
I don't know. I don't hear it like that. I love the sound of it. But
I love it too. But
we can go forever with this whole thing. Okay, so live shows. You have what you want to mention?
Okay, well, Rock Camp, March 31st to April 3rd. In Las Vegas. Then I will be joining my very good friend, Mr. EDDIE Trunk.
Oh, yeah.
At
South by Southwest.
Actually, this is before Rock Camp. On March 16th. March 16th, we fly. And then on March 17th, Mr. EDDIE Trunk and myself.
And you know who else?
And Geezer Butler.
Who also now lives here.
Of Black Sabbath.
Geezer's in Vegas now.
Oh, my gosh. Really?
I was just emailing his wife earlier to see if he was around. But
oh, man.
He's not in town now, but he's here.
So we will all, Geezer, EDDIE, myself, be going to Austin, Texas.
With Wendy Dio.
With Wendy Dio for the South by Southwest Movie Festival for the premiere of the Dio documentary.
Yeah.
Is it Dreamers Never Die?
I believe that's what it's called. I haven't seen it yet.
And we're going to be having a panel, and it's not open to the public. So if you're listening to this radio show, do not come. Stay at home. You will not be
I think it's for like vendors for the film or just the film industry. But I've not ever been to South by Southwest, but my understanding is the first week it's film and then the second week is like music. So we'll be there to do this panel. So, and we're going to get to see the movie, obviously, which I'm really excited about. So that's something that we'll be able to at least report on. But yeah, as Sebastian said, I don't think that you're able to get in publicly. But if anything changes, I'll definitely let you know. And do you have gigs coming up?
Yes, I do. So after the Dio doc, Rock Camp Vegas, then on Friday, May 27th, we are in Indianapolis for Indie Carb Day with the Kings of Chaos.
Oh, you're doing that stuff again.
Yeah,
cool.
Which is my band with Matt Sorum.
Steve Stevens, right?
Yeah. Or Kenny Aronoff, who's ever available. Sometimes Warren DeMartini. Sometimes Dee Snider. So that'll be a fun gig. I don't know what the hell Indie Carb Day is, but I'm not going to be eating carbs.
Carburetor, probably.
Oh, I thought it was carbs. Like, I was like, why are they having a festival?
You go there, it's nothing but bagels and bread.
But I asked my management, I go, are you sure this is called Carb Day? And he goes, yeah, dude, that's the name. So it must be carburetors. Not calories.
I would love nothing. I'm a carb junkie, clearly. I'd go in there and eat nothing but French fries and bread and
pizza.
Yeah, let's go
pasta.
Carb crazy. Carb crash.
Okay.
Rice.
Okay, on Friday, June 17th, Kings of Chaos are doing a show in Del Mar, California. I have no other info on that. On Friday, June 24th, Sebastian Bach Band has a gig in Toledo, Ohio.
A one-off, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Then on July 23rd, my solo band will be headlining Fremont Street in Las Vegas.
Wow, that's awesome.
Which is a great gig.
Those are usually free shows too, right?
Yeah, but we did one before. It was absolutely packed, like, 10,000 people.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, because you get, when you do them down there, what's cool about it is it's free, so you can get the people who are fans that come, and then it could just be somebody rolling out of a casino. It's like, holy shit, man.
I got on the stage, and I could not believe it.
Yeah, it's awesome down there.
I was like,
I
wow.
love downtown.
Yeah, I love Vegas. So there we go. And I have another huge thing that I can't talk about. I could make a joke.
Is this the TV thing or not?
I can't. There's a bunch of stuff that I cannot divulge.
Well, we'll do it the next time. I know what, but I know you can't say, so we'll address next time.
It's driving me nuts.
Yeah.
Anyways.
When you can talk about these things, we'll,
Good.
You know where I'm at now,
Yes.
so you can find.
I know where you live, Eddie.
You know where I live. All right, we got to do another break. When we come back, one of the things Sebastian wanted to do was get into some Canadian stuff, so we're going to do that next, and we'll get to the phones. You can hit him with some of your favorite Canadian bands. He's got stuff he wants you to hear, so we're going to get into all of that coming up next on Trunk Nation, live from Vegas with Sebastian Bach sitting in. We'll be right back with more.
That's 4 of me.
All right, I went a little late there. I got off track on my break, so I'm going to have to do another quick one here in a few minutes. Sebastian Bach is joining us. Then we're going to have a whole nother hour with Sebastian. We're live from Vegas today, where Sebastian now lives full-time. I'm here part-time whenever I can get here, and it's great to be here. Because like I said, when I got this place, it's like not only do I love Vegas, but obviously so many people have relocated here, and there's such a scene here now. It's great. So doing exactly what I wanted to do when we got this place that I said we'd do. We had Steve Stevens on, we had DJ Ashba on, we got Sebastian Bach on, we've had a bunch of people already here in the studio, and more to come. Tomorrow, Wolfgang Van Halen joining me in the studio, as well as Mark LaBelle, lead singer of Dirty Honey. They are out on tour together on a co-headline tour called the Young Guns Tour, and they are playing at the House of Blues here in Vegas tomorrow. That's where the tour stops, with 2 opening acts, including that band that a lot of people were calling in about called The Warning, that is made up of some women from Mexico that Jason Flom just signed.
I was just going to say.
A guy who signed Skid Row. So
yeah, they meet his requirement. They're under 20.
Is that his requirement?
Check the record, dude. Once you hit 25, later.
It's like Logan's Run.
Greta Van Fleet. Oh, you guys are in high school? You're next. Look at the record. He's not like a Neil Young guy. Like, I'm going to manage you forever. No. Once you hit 26, that's pretty much it.
It's like Logan's Run.
Look at it. Mark McGrath, Kid Rock, Matt, they're all. You're cut. You're done. Next.
Cardi B is on watch.
All of them.
Or whoever.
So now it's the warning. They're 17 years old. Here you go. Sign right here.
Greta Van Fleet opening for Metallica, actually, by the way, Friday. Flom is here. We should have, not here in the building. He's in Vegas. But
he's coming up the street. What do you mean, man? I actually said to Jason, because I'm still friends with him, I go, dude, why don't you put out my solo records? I mean, what is the deal? And he goes, Sebastian, he goes, unfortunately, I can't release a record that sells less than 1 million copies. And I go, well, that's funny because neither could I. So what are we doing? Like,
for those that don't know who we're talking about, he's an legendary industry guy at this point. I mean, he's signed bands starting back to Twisted Sister back in the early 80s, and he's still active and still a major player in the industry, signing acts, pop, hard rock, everything. So Jason Flom is his name, and he's an old friend of Sebastian and I, and he played a big hand in getting, signing Skid Row.
He signed Skid Row, he signed Twisted Sister, he signed Sugar Ray, he signed Kid Rock, he signed Matchbox 20, he signed Greta Van Fleet, and he signed The Warning.
Yeah.
What is the common denominator here?
It's the cutoff 25 or 26.
Well, we'll see.
Well, it is. I've always said rock and roll is a young person's game for sure. So, all right. So we got a ton of phone calls lined up that want to talk to you. And then you've got your Canadian stuff you want to mention. So how do you want to do this when we come back?
It's your show, But
I want to make sure you get your stuff in because you have specific songs you wanted people to hear.
Yeah.
So do you want to run through those in the next segment and then we'll take the calls?
Sure.
Okay. So because we're only going to play like 30-second clips of the songs. But Sebastian had a bunch of Canadian bands. Of course, he's from Canada, growing up there, that he wanted to mention that when Fitz and Kearns were here and we did our Canadian Spotlight a couple months ago, some bands they didn't get to that Sebastian wanted to make sure got some love. And he sent in these songs in advance to Joel. So Joel, the master sorcerer, who even found the anvil blood on the ice.
Oh, that's crazy too.
That's what you heard going into the break. We are going to play little clips, and Sebastian will give you a few stories on these bands when we play them. So let's do that after this quick break, and then we'll have a good 30, 40 minutes, and you can call in about anything you want to talk to Sebastian about. I see somebody here who's got an 8-track they want to offer you, Sebastian.
Oh, well, I just got a notice here that says, I just bought my Carb Day tickets. Well, good. Bring some pizza. You
get a ton of rice and loaves of bread with your ticket. We'll be right back after the top of the hour here, and more with Sebastian Bach live from Vegas on Trunk Nation. All right, hour 2. Here we go.
All right, brother.
Trunk Nation live from Vegas. Sebastian Bach with me. Tomorrow, Wolfgang Van Halen is here, along with Mark from Dirty Honey. Don't miss that. 2 great shows here. And then I'm taking Friday off. I'm going to need a day off after this. All right, so let's get into it, Baz.
Yes.
You have... So Sebastian even has CDs here, and he's doing a Facebook Live as well of all of this on his Facebook, just so people know. But let's run down. There were omissions, and I just texted Fitz and Kearns and told them you should be here because Sebastian is here with his counter to your all Canadian rock thing. Well, so start it off. What do you want to get into?
Well, first of all, I really enjoyed the Canadian special with Todd and Brent, and
ideally we'll get all 3 of you and we'll do this when they're not on the road. They're out with Slash now.
Well, Canada's a very big country, and Todd and Brent are from the more western side and central side, or central middle. But I'm from the other side, near Canada, near Toronto and Montreal, which is like a totally another part of the country. So there was different bands that are bigger in Vancouver and Winnipeg than Toronto, Montreal. One of the bands from Canada that we'll start with here is a band from Ottawa, Ontario, where all the truckers are right now, honking their horns downtown. This is a band called Exciter that came out a little bit, I think, after Anvil. But this is a super heavy band with a couple albums. The first one was Heavy Metal Maniac. And then the next one was called Violence and Force.
With a great cover with an arm coming through a door. I had that record. I have it.
And
Pounding Metal.
And so, yeah, let's get into it. People know about Anvil, the song Metal on Metal. Maybe this song was influenced by that. But here is a tune that will kick your ass. Pounding Metal, tear it apart! Oh, that riff! Oh,
It's
chills on my
riff.
arms. Chills on my arms.
You know, that brings me back to the club L'Amour's in Brooklyn because Exciter used to play there, and I saw them there. Yeah, and that song, even when they weren't playing, they'd always crank it over the PA in between bands. And that, and like a song like Accept, Balls to the Wall, always sounds great coming out of a PA before a concert.
Yes.
It always just so loud and heavy. It's so great.
The drummer was the singer, and he really screamed high, which I loved. And I saw them live at the Masonic Temple in Toronto, where Metallica played with Wasp and Armored Saint, and Geddy Lee was in the audience. I was at that show too. But I can't remember who Exciter played with, but I was at that show. It might have been Venom. It might have been Venom because I saw Venom there too. But a couple other great Exciter songs are Violence and Force, Delivering to the Master, and there's another super slow, heavy song called Iron Dogs.
Of course there is.
So go check those out. You won't be sad.
All right, what's next?
Okay, next is a band from Guelph, Ontario, I believe. Guelph, which is a little tiny town near Toronto. This was a band called Razor, and they had a video called Evil Invaders, which is so heavy. It's mind-blowing. Joel?
Let's hear it.
Do you have No. Oh, yeah. You gotta go to the chorus. Hang on. It's coming up. 3, 4.
What year is that?
I think 83.
That sounds like early Slayer thrash kind of stuff.
I like the halftime breakdown stuff. That chorus there. I'm a sucker for
But
that.
that's around the time of early Slayer, so that's kind of like in line with what Slayer would have been doing with like Haunting the Chapel and all that stuff at that time.
Well,
so they're kind of early thrash, that band. Really.
I saw the Haunting the Chapel Show No Mercy tour in Toronto, and I smoked hash with Slayer. Backstage, I was 14. And I was one of the only people in their dressing room as a kid. And they're like, hey, come on, man. And I was like buddies with them.
Explains a lot with what we're dealing with right now, isn't it?
Tom was like, come on in, Sebastian. All right. I was like 14. Larry's Hideaway. Okay, so
real quick on that. Hold on, this is crazy. Just to go off track, but along those lines, this is crazy. So you know the magazine Classic Rock from England, right? Phenomenal magazine. I'm reading the latest issue on the plane out here yesterday, and there's a story on the 50 greatest music videos ever made, and one of them was Hot for Teacher.
Yeah.
The kid, you remember how they had little kids?
Oh, yeah.
So the kid who was Michael Anthony, they interviewed him now.
Oh, my God.
And he was 14 for the Hot for Teacher video. And they talked about what was that experience like. And the kid said he was a huge Van Halen fan. He went to the casting. He was like, great, I look like Michael Anthony. I'm in. He gets the job, and then he's on the set. And he's like, I got to meet Van Halen, because he said the other kids were just like want to be actors, and they didn't. He was like into it.
Right.
And he knocked on their trailer door. And he said Alex Van Halen offered him in and gave him had a shotgun of beer with him, and he was 14.
Oh, that's crazy.
And he goes, the greatest memory of my life. He goes, he goes, and then when the teachers came out in the bikinis, he goes, the director kept saying to me, grab their legs, grab their legs. He goes, I was all embarrassed.
Well, just to let you know, when you try to talk about the 80s to people now, what was it like? I also played Larry's Hideaway when I was 14 years old. I was 6'2" or 6'3", had more makeup on than Tammy Faye Baker, had my hair this high, and nobody said a thing. Like, and I was the guy on stage, and the age limit to get in was 21, and the guy that people were coming in to see was 14. That's the 80s.
All right, give me another one.
Okay, next up is a band called Gatto.
Now,
and
I think
know
this came up with Fitz and Kearns.
Yes.
Or somebody called in about them.
I'm friends with Greg Godovitz, who was the singer. Doug Inglis, the drummer, just died recently. Rest in peace. Gino Scarpelli. And, okay, my favorite Gatto song is on this record. It's a song called So Walk On. And it has the same riff repeating for like 4 minutes, but it doesn't get old. I mean, it's one of those riffs that just kicks ass, and it has a crazy intro. But Joel, let's show the world Gatto, So Walk On.
So way more of a straight-up rock thing than obviously Razor, which was full-on thrash. That's more straight-up rock sort of vibe.
But this is another Toronto band that was huge.
They were big in Canada?
Mike Myers did their intro when they came back out. Yes, another Gasworks band, which is where...
That's a club, right?
Yeah, that's where Rush really started, and my band started, and Gatto. And the next band, Killer Dwarfs.
Who I just saw. They were just on the Monsters of Rock cruise a couple weeks ago.
Killer Dwarfs, all you Canadian rockers remember the Slave to the Grind tour in 1992, which was in Canada, Skid Row, Killer Dwarfs, and opening was Pantera. Pantera opened for the Killer Dwarfs.
Oh my gosh.
Let's not rewrite history, internet. All right? And, Killer Dwarfs' first record is my favorite, not to discount the ones that came after it, but there's two songs on this record that really influenced me as a kid. Are You Ready? Oh, no. Can't Lose and Heavy Metal Breakdown had some great videos you might remember from, the New York area. There's a little before Lee Aaron. It's like 81. These are old songs.
And the Killer Dwarfs, for those that don't know, everybody in the band had the name, like the Ramones, the last name was Dwarf, right?
Yeah.
Russ Dwarf, whatever, Daryl Dwarf, yeah. And those guys are still around.
And they're
still playing.
And they're still very short. Well, not the drummer, but I have a funny story. The singer right here, Russ Dwarf, right here. He is a dwarf. He's very short.
Why is your phone talking?
Because I'm trying to figure this out. Just ignore that.
He's trying to Facebook Live while he's doing this thing.
So when I was a teenager, me and Russ went out to a club in Toronto called Rock and Roll Heaven, and it was packed. And I was his buddy, and we were like, "Come on, man, let's get in. We get in. There's so many people." And I turn around, I can't see him. And I go, "Russ! Where are you? And he looks up at me, he's standing right next to me. He goes, "I'm right here, Dunk." And I look down, he's like right underneath me. I swear to God. I go, "Oh my God, you're right there." Because I'm right here, Dunk.
Because you're 5 foot and he's 5 foot tall and you're 6'5".
That's right. And I looked over his head. And then they wrote a song called Hard Luck Town on this record, Method to the Madness, that was about me, actually.
Really?
Yeah, the lyrics, I don't want to go into it, but... I'll go into it.
Yeah, what is
So the lyrics to this...
What year is this?
This is like in the mid-90s this came out.
So this was after you had fame?
Yes.
This was like a tribute to you?
Yes. Well, you tell me. Here's the lyrics. Here's the lyrics. "Hey, man, I haven't seen you for a while. Hey, kid, I remember when you were wild. Most people live and die on the same old ground. Not you. You took the first rail out of town. And he always used to call me Dunk. And the next verse goes, hey, Dunk, I haven't seen you in a while. Hey, kid, I remember when you were wild, so damn wild. I think they were talking about
Yeah, I think so too.
So Killer Dwarfs, great band. You got any from the first record there, Joel? Killer Dwarfs?
Which one do you want? Can't Lose or Heavy Metal Breakdown?
Oh gosh. That's a tough choice. That's like choosing between two of my kids.
Do Heavy Metal Breakdown.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Heavy Metal
Go
Breakdown.
ahead, Joel. Give it a little, please.
Fucked up on the floor. Very cool. All right. Okay.
So hold on before you go on.
Yes.
Fitz and Kearns have just texted.
Oh.
So they're saying, Brent says Max Webster all the way.
Wait, you're blowing my load. I'm leading up to this.
Fitz says, what about Kid Wicked?
Well, that's I don't know. I don't know if we are one of the greats. Still kind of learning how to do it.
All right, so what else? Go ahead.
Okay, well, here's a great punk band called Teenage Head. And when their album came out in America, they had to make it Teenage Heads because the name Teenage Head was too much for America. But this is a prototypical punk band that used to play all over Toronto. Frankie Venom on lead vocals.
Frankie Venom?
Yeah, what a great
That's
name.
great.
Yeah. And their big hit was called Something on My Mind, but there's a great punk riff tune called Disgusting. Joel? Listen to that riff.
Sounds very 80s.
Yeah, early 80s, late 70s.
It's got like a little new wave bounce to it too, kind of.
Well, there's a lot of great music up there. Rough Trade is a new wave band. This is incredible. High School Confidential. A lot of great club bands. But as Brent Fitz.
Kearns just said Frankie Venom all the way.
Yeah! How about the sax solo in Something on My Mind? Unbelievable. But we don't have enough time for all that.
Yeah, we got people want to call in and say hi to you
I'll hurry
too.
up.
So go ahead. What's next?
Okay. As Brent Fitz said, oh wait, we forgot about April Wine. You can't forget about April Wine.
I loved April Wine.
Okay. The song I Like to Rock. Joel, cue that up. What a tune. I Like to Rock. Guess what? I do like to rock. Can't you see? Sebastian Bach. Well, I do like to rock.
April Wine had success in America. I mean, Sign of the Gypsy Queen was a
what
good
a song. What a song.
Nature of the Beast album, that was the record that they kind of broke on early 80s here in the US.
You know, we have a song in Skid Row called Get the Fuck Out, and there's a part in it that the fans always laugh at when I go, get the fuck out. That was a ripoff or an inspiration from April Wine, the song All Over Town, where he goes, I don't care, da-da-da, he don't care, da-da-da, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's what
I didn't know that's where that came from.
I get
that.
Out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. And there's a power ballad that they had called Just Between You
Great
and
song.
Me. That
Which didn't he sing? He sings in French in one part.
Yes, he does.
Too, I think.
Like Rush.
Yeah.
But that's a beautiful song.
And April Wine's still around. They do some gigs here and there still.
And I covered one of their songs, Rock and Roll is a Vicious Game, on my last record, Give 'Em Hell. And so there you go. All right, trying to get through this so we can get some calls. As Brent Fitz said, the most underrated band from Canada to me is called Max Webster. And they have so many great records. Now, Americans, you will know Max Webster if you're old enough, because they used to open for Rush in America. But then Kim Mitchell, the lead singer and guitar player, had a great solo career where he actually had a hit record in America called Go for Soda.
Yeah.
Might as well go for soda, better than slander. It's better than lies, which was a great song. But going back, Max Webster, this record here, Paradise Skies, A Million Vacations. I have this on vinyl. It's one of the best sounding produced records that I have in my collection to put on. Do you have the song Paradise Skies there, Joel?
I do have it, and I will give it to you in 1 second here.
There's a song on here called A Million Vacations. Oh, yeah. Listen to this. Very cool.
Now, I've heard of Max Webster, but I never really heard their music. So,
well, they had a big hit song on here called Let Go the Line in Canada. I don't know about America, but it was huge when I was a kid.
yeah, not here. Definitely not here.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Last thing. This is insane. If you are a Rush fan, and who the hell isn't, Rush and Max Webster were so close that they actually recorded a song together.
Which
on
Rush
this
never
record.
did. Rush never did stuff like that.
So there's a song on here called Battle Scar, which is all the members of Max Webster and all 3 members of Rush. Neil Peart on the drums, Geddy singing, and this song is so heavy.
Wait, now how many members were in Max Webster?
I think 4.
So it's just 7 people on this song then.
And it's
Well, no, it's showing 3 on the booklet for Max Webster.
okay.
So maybe it's 3 and 3.
Maybe it's 3 and a keyboard player. He doesn't count.
There's nothing in this booklet. Look at this. It's a
Good
bootleg.
packaging.
There's a booklet in Sebastian's CD, and it's blank inside.
Hey, come on, Canada.
To run this in a Xerox machine?
I told you it's a rare record, dude.
Okay, so Max Webster featuring Kim Mitchell, it says on the cover.
Yeah.
Universal Juveniles.
Right.
And this is them and Rush together.
On the song.
All right, it's Joel, let's hear it, Battle Scar.
That's the outro chorus. The
What
rest
year
of the
is
song,
that?
I think 1980.
So Rush is around Permanent Waves there.
Yeah.
That's heavy for...
Dude, if you're a Rush fan
Yeah,
and
that's
you don't
awesome.
have this, there's one more thing for you to buy.
But you said it's hard to find, right?
It's very hard to find.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I'm showing it to you right now.
Max Webster and Rush together, Battle Scar. All right,
Yeah, cool.
So there's your Canadian assault from Sebastian, some things he needed to get out there that Fitz and Kearns did not address. Now, Todd and Brent, who are out on the road with Slash now, so they're not here, but they were texting me during this, and eventually, when all schedules align, we will have the mother of all Canadian rock shows with you, Fitz, and Kearns all here
Very
at the
cool.
same time. We have to make that happen.
And I have to say thank you to Brent Fitz and Todd Kearns and Slash and Miles Kennedy and Frank Sidoris for the show.
Oh, you went the other night? I was so bummed I wasn't in
I went to
town.
see it, and I love. Okay,
I love the new record.
I love the new record, but to me, it's so interesting to go to see a concert that's all songs you've never heard before.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I know
So
people.
you don't know those records, the records Slash is
Oh
made.
no, he did a couple songs like Slash's Slash Snake Pit song,
Right.
but he did the whole new record. The whole
Well, he
new-
did a couple songs from me, but he did all songs from the last 4 records.
Okay.
He's not doing any Guns N' Roses anymore
right,
because he's in Guns N' Roses.
and he did
again.
Elton John, Rocket Man,
Right, which they recorded, yeah.
But there was a lot of focus on the new stuff, and but I haven't heard the new record yet. And to me, that's so interesting. Like I just trip out on hearing a new song. I'm not one of the guys that goes to the bathroom and the new song.
Me too.
I like new songs.
I love the music he makes with this band. They've got 4 records, and that's what they're playing, and so a few other things in there too. But it's the new record I love. I listened to it on the plane coming out again. It's
and
great
what
songs.
what you guys did on your show, showcasing the whole record, playing live on a radio show. That's incredible.
Yeah, they did 4 songs and played live, and we
It's
sat for
amazing.
a couple hours. Again, that's on the app. Anybody that missed it, shot it, did full video, did it in L.A. Maybe when you do another record, we can do something like that.
That would be great.
Yeah, maybe we could talk about that.
God, I got to get on.
You got to
it.
get the talent
Jeez.
department. Get on.
I
Make
better
a new-
start writing some
Get
tunes.
started to make a record. Man.
God.
What are you doing?
I got some titles rolling around.
I'm sure you do. I'd love to hear something new. Eventually, maybe we'll have something new. All right, we got to take a break before we get in trouble.
Yeah.
And we'll come back from the break, and let's go the rest of the way with the callers. We got a ton of people want to say hello. So if you want to hit Sebastian with some Canadian stuff, you can, or you want to hit him with whatever.
You want to talk about Carb Day?
Carb Day. As soon as I get off the air, I'm going to go to In-N-Out Burger and have carb day.
All right, man.
All right, we'll be right back with more
We
with
will be-
Sebastian Bach, having a blast here from Vegas on Trunk Nation.